Wake your punk ass up.
Warrior class, zoo, stand up. Warrior class, zoo, rise up. Warrior class, zoo, speak up. Warrior class, zoo, show up. Warrior class, zoo, smoke 'em out. Peace, blessings, and black love. This is Amaja Awetu coming to you black at it again. In this reaction, I just wanted to talk about how they're using our talking points. So this is Umar Johnson speaking with a black male member of the LGBTQ community. And I really wanted you guys to listen to how they use our talking points, the warrior class, the freedom fighters, and how they use ambiguous language or words or phrases basically to try to hide within the narrative. So I'm under the impression that, of course, you can slay the elephant multiple ways. And of course, you need to be aware of all of the ways the enemy is attacking. But I'm also under the stronger idea that we really need to be like a ray of light, a beam, a laser. We need to be going in one direction. So think of it like an army on a battlefield. The majority of us need to be going in one direction. Your special ops or your black ops or whatever, that's a smaller number. So that's the way they can get in. Okay, so they can flank them. But if you on a battlefield, you get 1,000 soldiers in the front, and you'll probably send 300 soldiers to go around the left to the right, blah, 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 blah. But the point I'm trying to emphasize is we would be stronger if we were going in one direction, one mind, like a hive mind. So I understand that we need to break off in certain factions and do the same thing to defeat, slay this elephant. However, I know for a fact there are too many of us going in all these other directions, thinning in our ranks, thinning in our numbers, making it easier for us to be defeated because we're not really focused. We're not heavily focused on one way attack. We're focused all over the place. So when I say it, I don't say it to say it should never be done as in absolute. I'm really trying to say most of us should be trying to face this elephant head on. I give it to the scholars, which should be a smaller percent, so they can go do the research, they can get the information, they can teach, and we can better formulate a better strategy. I give it to your economics because no war can be fought without any form of provisions or economics. But we don't need the entire people population to worry about economics. But we still need it, but it should be a smaller percentage. I am okay with the scientists, but understand we don't need larger number of people participating in other endeavors or other ways to slay this elephant. After a while, you'll start to see a pattern. Nobody's trying to slay this elephant, and you're asking for the knuckle draggers to do the work. Well, we already know it ain't that many knuckle draggers. It's like if you look at anybody in any city, in any town, it ain't that many Debos. One, two, maybe a few, but it ain't that many Debos. Most of the people are your working class citizens. Then you got another small sector of people that are the henchmen or runners or gophers for on a Debo. So you got like one or two Debo, three maybe, depending on how big your city is. But it's pretty much 2 or 3 in your neighborhood. That's about it. Then everybody under that Debo is your gopher. They're weaker than him. They work with him. They're his partners. They're his friends, but they answer to him. That number ain't large. Your gang isn't a large number. It becomes a large number over the course of time because of the amount of people, population. But the gang is still smaller than your civilian class. Your civilian class is the biggest class. Your civilian class is bigger than your police force. Your civilian class is just like a jail cell. The regular inmates are a larger population as compared to your COs. Your COs are a smaller percentage of a jail.
They just have the weapons, and they have a system, and they have a code. They're all on code. When this happens, when it's a death, when it's an attack, when it's a fight, hey, we on code. The civilians, which are your regular inmates, even if they're high risk or high level inmates, they're separated from Gen Pop. I'm explaining what we have is we have too many people trying to be COs and not enough civilians. So what happens is when it's time to go to that war, nobody likes nobody's way of going at it. Christians don't like the way that the Muslims want to fight. Muslims don't like the way archaeologists want to fight. Archaeologists don't like the way that those people that dig with rocks. Don't worry about it. You get what I'm talking about. Because one does bone. Archaeologists pretty much deal with artifacts, digging up bones, artifacts, old trophies, old memorabilia, blah, 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 artifacts. And then there's another scientist where they dig with rocks. They go around, they dig up rocks, and they tell you what rock it is, like amorite. They tell you this is quartz. This is actually a rock, but it looks like gold. It's called fool's gold. This is amorite. They deal with rocks. What I'm saying is we as a people, we're splinting off in too many directions trying to defeat this elephant. I'm under the strong mind that the bulk of us need to be working on this elephant head on, while a select few of us try to flank it or hit it from the side or hit it from other directions, but not the amount of people that we're saying. So when I reenact on this video, I'm really trying to get you to hear how they are using our talking points against us, the Warrior class, as well as how they are coming up with ways to disguise who they are. Remember, I told you they demonize words so that you come up with a word, then they'll tell you to shun the behavior. But they're going to demonize the word more than they're going to demonize the behavior. You're going to get into a pattern to where when you see the behavior, for the most part, you're going to look away. There's not much you can do. But when you hear the word, you're more capable of attacking the word. Let's not focus on what the word is specifically, because all words change. I specifically try to always talk about behavioral patterns and talking points. Yes, I know people can come in here and do dates. I know people can come in here and tell you, I read this book. I understand other people's specialty or skill set. I read the book so I can identify and locate the history. But what I'm really after is finding the commonality between the common thread between this book, that book, that book, this story, this story, this story. And after a while, I will see a pattern. Once I see a pattern, and I'll say, this sounds like that. So when I associate the way I see it versus the way other people see it, I'm not so much upset that they see it the way that they see it. I'm not worried about how they see it. What I really, really want to know is what you're going to do about it. Once I get to understand you're not going to do nothing about it, then I'll put you in a category. I'll compartmentalize you. I'll do all those things. I say you're not going to fight. I don't need to know. I don't need to know nothing about you. All I need to know is, all I need to be able to do is identify your behavior pattern and your talking points. What are your talking points? So this is a long intro, but I'm trying to warm you up so that when you start to hear this, you pay special attention to the talking points. Why does this male sound like he's trying to hide something? At the same time, why is he misrepresenting our talking points? Because he's a member of the LGBTQ community. Why is he misrepresenting our talking points? And why is he deliberately trying to make it seem like hiding one's sexuality is important versus letting us all know where you're at? Understand the reasons why it has became important to know everybody's sexuality, everybody's economics, everybody's history, everybody's lineage, everybody's whatever you want to call it, because everybody got a different name. It'll change next week. But you got to understand why it's important for us to fact check who you are, why it's important for us to get as many receipts on you, why it's important for us to get as much information data on you as possible. The reason why it's becoming this way is because in the last 400 years, we've learned pattern that you guys are using the blood and the death and the economics of the warrior class in order to push your agenda. Christians are not out here marching for the freedom to practice Christianity. Bible thumpers are not out here marching for the freedom to practice any kind of religion. Homosexuals are not out here marching for the right to practice homosexuality. It is foundational Black Americans that are out here complaining and marching against the onslaught and the economic strangling of foundational Blacks. What does that mean? The reason why you got to come up with these new terms is to specify a specific group of people are being harmed, are being targeted by another specific group of people, and they are using these subcategories, these subgroups, these buffer classes to do the attack. Yes, they may orchestrate it. They may originate it. But they're using the weaker ones. They're using the coward class of our people group to actually assist and help and aid in the onslaught and the attack of the warrior class. Listen to this male dodge these questions. Listen to this male try to sound as ambiguous as possible. And then also, towards the end of the video, listen to how this male will use our talking point to justify why he is LGBT and why it doesn't matter if he's LGBT, because in the system of racism, white supremacy, WSR, nobody is of their conscious mind to determine or have the ability to think for themselves. Roll the tape.
With the Malcolm X photo?
Yeah, what's going on?
All right. Are you homosexual, bisexual, trans woman, or heterosexual?
Yo, your question, and I know your intentions is to not be disrespectful. So as somebody in the community, I will say
Somebody in what community?
In the queer community, that
Okay.
your approach is a bit harsh in terms of your language.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, because I'm here to be educated, my brother.
For sure.
Okay, I'm here to be educated, and we're here to educate you guys as well. And of course, we all coming in the spirit of respect. Now, when I ask people if they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, or heterosexual, I'm asking that so I can understand their personal frame of reference. So, for example, last night's conversation was about light skin supremacy and dark skin supremacy in the Black community. So everyone who came on, I asked them, are you light skin, brown skin, dark skin, or mixed race? So I need you to explain to me, my brother, when I ask you, are you homosexual, bisexual, trans woman, or heterosexual, why is that considered harsh?
Because that language is for you. I said I'm in the queer community, so that.
Okay, so how does, and again, I want you to educate me.
He used the word queer. So I have the paperback, the Webster's Dictionary. It says it was copywritten in 2008. I know I'm not going to go back. I know I ought to go back and get one as old as at least 1970, 70. But I know I'm not going to go back that far. I'm not going to invest all that time into all these books because I'm still a proponent of just get out here and do the work. We fail, but at least just put some work in. So I'm not going to spend too many days up here trying to look up these words. I'm sure some of you are aware of the word queer and what it means, But let me help those who do not know what the word means. So when you look up the dictionary version, the word queer, deviating from the norm or expected, strange. Number 2, odd or unconventional, eccentric. 3, questionable in nature or character, suspicious. Something queer about the DEA. Basically, in this one, it's pronounced day. Slang, fake, counterfeit. Number 5, feeling slightly ill, queasy. Number 6, often offensive, homosexual. So when that individual uses the term queer, when many of us are associated with, GAY or homosexual or LGBTQ, you those that are listening, you have to understand why they're always going to change the name or the term. They're going to change the name or the term or the phrase because it is far simpler and easier to change the wording. Again, the behavior is what we're trying to get to stop doing. It is more difficult to stop the behavior. So they're less likely to wage a war against the behavior, but more likely to put the word out in front of you because the word is what they can control. The word is what they can manipulate. So today we're going to be talking about a stupid word, which in a few more years, in a few more days, in a few more months, they're going to come in and say, no, we're no longer under that. All the while, they're able to hide, blend in, and practice their particular chosen lifestyle under the guise of you can't see me. But when you, me, us are talking to these people, the mere fact that they're choosing not to be called that term is an indicator, not an absolute, an indicator of who they are, what their motives are. Regardless of the term or name you use, you're not changing your behavior. So we don't get hung up on the term. We understand the behavior. You get hung up on the term. Well, they get hung up on the term because for them, we're demonizing the behavior. Because for us, we don't want no one who practices that behavior anywhere around us. Well, why is it that you don't want us around us? It's not contagious. It isn't the fact that it's contagious or not contagious. It's not natural. It may be normal, but it's not natural. And at the same time, whether it be natural or whether it be normal, we have learned that many of you are using it as a weapon of division only in the black community. That's why we don't want you nowhere around us. You are not as great as your greats, James Baldwin or Bayard Rustin. They did not put sexuality over race. They put race over sexuality. And if you, members of the community, don't understand that, then by default, whether it's your behavior or your terminology, you are all considered traitorous or treacherous until you are able to put blood on the line and say, my race means more to me than my sexuality. Until you're able to do that, then what you are telling us is you're not going to move with us, but you don't have as much power without us. And because you don't have as much power without us, you want to commingle with us so we can be the loudest drum and push the agenda, all the while you leech off of us.
You're in the queer community. How does queer differ from homosexual, bisexual, trans woman? Queer means what? Educate me.
Just in the community. I mean, you would really have to sit down and you're trying to talk political, so I'm trying to talk politics too.
Okay.
I'm just
well, tell me what it means to you to be queer. Because when you say you're queer, you're saying that you're not. Are you saying that you are or you are not homosexual, bisexual, or trans woman? When you say
I am not straight.
okay, you're
I am
not
not
straight. Stay with me. Okay, because I'm learning. I'm learning. You're not.
Yes,
Stay with me.
I am.
Okay, you're not straight. I got that part. You're not homosexual either. Is that correct?
Yeah, see, that's where it's funny because I'm sure when you say homosexual, you're talking about two cis men, right?
Two,
Talking
two.
about two gay men.
Again, their job is to blend in the hide without being identified. So in their mind, they want to continue at business as usual, all the while they have a hidden or secret motive. Now, when he asked the question, what this male did is he basically deflected. So instead of being upfront, instead of just saying it plain and clear, what your allegiance are, what your sexual preference is, he's dancing around it. And what I'm telling to you, warrior class, when an individual is not able to answer a question plain and simple, what's 10 times 9? 90. Even if it takes you a while to get that answer, what we're looking for is the answer. What's 1 plus 1? 2. What's 11 times 100? 1,100. We're looking for the answer. Yes, we don't care how long it takes you to get to the answer. We're looking for the answer. When you meet an individual that says, what's 7 times 7? Well, that depends. See, because when you go to on the moon, and since the moon has a different form of gravity, and you got to be careful because then you got to multiply the 1 and divide the 2. When you listen to an individual do all of that, that's an indicator. It's not an absolute. It's the indicator that some why you always lying? It's an indicator that somebody's up to something.
No. When I say homosexual, for me, a man having romantic interactions with another man is homosexuality.
That's male and woman, male and female. Any sex having sex with itself is the same. It's the same as it was in Egypt. It's the same as it was in Rome. It's the same as it was in Africa. It's the same. Homosexuality, gay, whatever words, lesbos, whatever. No matter what term they put on it, it is the same physical behavior. And that's what I need the warrior class to learn and understand.
So you do not have relations with other men.
No.
So what they do, because I listened to enough of them. So what they hide behind is terms, non-binary terms. Understand how the words, the lies that they use. Understand the agenda. Understand the strategy. Understand what they do. In our world, the way we see things is if we see a butterfly mating with another butterfly, we would say that butterfly is procreating with a butterfly. But for us, we have to put a label on it, butterfly to butterfly. We don't necessarily have to put a term mating or or procreating. We don't have to put those little nuances or twitches to it, but we do have to identify the insect, the butterfly, the apple. We've put a label on it, an identifier on it. What they try to do, how they try to do, whatever it is they try to do, they try not to put a label on it. So we say intercourse with another male, man. They say, no, because I don't have sex with men. And then we go in a tongue twister. Well, if you're not having sex with, are you having sex with a female or a man? Then they will go, I don't have sex with blah, 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 because it cannot have a label. So when they say man, the labels are never going to be clear because they're never going to say a man is having sex with a man, even though they're having sex with something that looks like them. That goes for the females too. The females do the exact same thing. The traditional female label and the traditional male label are now trying to change the terms of the tradition and say it is no longer called that. Well, we don't consider ourselves that. We consider ourselves this. And then it goes, well, what do you consider yourself? Non-binary. Well, what is non-binary? Non-binary, for the most part, means you cannot put a label on me. You cannot put an identifier on me because you are not the one that determines what I am. I am the one that determines what I am, and I can be a unicorn on Monday and a Sasquatch on Tuesday and a blood-soaked zebra on Thursday. So if you call me a butterfly, I really don't have to answer or agree to that term because that's not the term I agreed to. Because on Wednesday, I'm a unicorn. So...
No, I don't.
Okay, so you're not homosexual. So which automatically means you can't be bisexual, right? Because if you don't have relations with men, you're not bisexual either. You're not a trans woman. So help me out, my brother. You see me trying to get some clarity from you. What does queer mean? That means your sex is what? What do you do? What is queer? We trying to learn from y'all now. Y'all can't get upset at us, and we trying to understand you. What is queer?
Yeah, so you're trying to understand, right?
Queer, yes. What does queer? You said you're queer. What does...
You're trying to understand what I do in the bedroom or what my political ideology is?
Both. What does queer mean? Sexually, what is a queer? I would like to know that. And politically, where do you stand?
So queer by definition means weird and has been, reclaimed to an extent politically and socially and culturally by the quote-unquote non-heterosexual community, because there's lots of labels and ways in which people identify. It's not very stringent as the quote-unquote LGBTQ alphabet, but queer just means pretty much, outside of the norms, outside of the stringent.
What I need the Warrior class to be able to understand is whether it's part of the LGBT community, whether it's part of the politics, whether it's part of the Democratic Party, whether it's part of the political party, the primary reason why you don't really understand what's going on, word salad, word web, is because on average, just like I'm sitting up here, I just got off my second job. I think I'm pulling in almost 60 to 65 hours a week. And that number's about to go up because I asked for overtime. What I'm saying is because you're not doing the work as an individual. Yes, we on YouTube, we're doing the work for you so we can speed up the thinking process, so we can speed up this recovery time, so we can speed up this detoxing time. But if you don't agree to how we're putting it down, if you don't agree to how we sound tone, if you don't agree to what we're saying, even if we're right, you always have the option of saying, no, I don't want to listen to that. No, I don't like the way she sounds. No, I don't like the way he talks. You have the option of ignoring us, even though we're right. And when shit hits the fan, you're not going to be prepared simply because for some reason you just could not get past you could not see the forest because of the trees. And what we, the Warrior class, the people group, are trying to get you guys to understand is fuck all them words. Listen to the basic message. Chew the meat, spit out the bones. Only take what you need. But you still have to do the work. Yes, I may read. I just bought another book. I didn't buy it. My wife brought me a new book, and it's called A New Origin Story, The 1619 Project, created by Nicole Hannah-Jones, winner of the Pulitzer Prize and the New York Times Magazine. The primary reason why I'm collecting all these books in a nutshell is really not me, because I'm a little too old for all this stuff. So it's going to be contributory, but for the most part, it's for my children and their children, so they can have it and be able to arm themselves. What I need to be worried about at my age is I need to be preparing a kingdom for them, because my age, we're getting older. We're dying. We're not getting younger. So I buy it anyway because I'm more likely to buy it. My resources are okay. My economics are okay. I ain't worried about running around here buying rims, buying stereos, trying to impress people. I'm not worried about running around here trying to get the latest, hottest kicks. I'm not worried about spending money on all those frivolous things. I'm worried about making sure I educate the young. Again, I don't want to belabor all that. I don't want to talk too long. I want to do this video as fast as possible, but I really want to focus on how they get in our circle, use our talking points against us, talk as ambiguous as possible, try to hide as much as they might so we don't identify. And if we're not able to identify, then we're not able to understand which direction they're coming. Yes, you have to be able to identify the wolf in sheep's clothing. You have to be able to identify the boy who cried wolf. You have to be able to identify the Judas priest. You have to be able to identify the traitors. You cannot wait until you're in the interrogation room and then say, oh, only one that told on me is cuz I wouldn't have said anything. I ain't tell nobody else but him. And then, no, that's too late. You need to be able to identify these people before they even sit at your table. And you don't, like the Bible says, don't cast your pearl. I got a lot of Bible references because I'm telling you, I read the book. Not only have I read the book, I go back every now and then and I'll see something online because other people have read the book. The only difference with myself and other people that have read the book, I don't read the book to rock myself to sleep. I'm more like Nat Turner. I read that book to get the spirit to goddamn it fight back. Put the book in my chest, close to my chest, so it can be like a armor plate vest, and it'll stop at least one of these bullets. Or if it don't stop, it don't penetrate so deep, hitting a vital artery. I'm more like Nat Turner. I'm not like these baby boomers. I'm not like these weaker generations of males running around that just read the goddamn book and can tell you about every Bible verse, can associate everything, and it rocks them to sleep, and it says, God will make a way. Won't he do it? I'm not like one of those people. So we're using the book for two different things. They're using the book to go to sleep, but I'm using the book to get up and fight. So when these individuals come amongst us, we need to identify them. And yes, you, warrior class, you have to be able to get your skills up to be able to identify who is and who ain't so you can stop talking to them. Don't cast your pearls to swine.
Relations.
I got so
talking about outside of that.
Okay, question for you. So you could engage in homosexual relations as a queer person, correct?
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. So queer is you're not choosing any specific. You're not choosing homosexual. You're not choosing bisexual. You're just queer. You're outside of the heterosexual dichotomy.
Absolutely.
I got you.
That's a pretty good intro.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. I assumed by your voice that you were born a biological male. Was I correct in that assumption?
I would probably stay away from assumptions.
Well, no. Well, what were you born? Were you born biologically a man or a woman?
I also would challenge this idea that those are the only two options, but we haven't gotten to the politics. So we going right to the politics. But can I get some clarity on that though, my brother? Because again, y'all cannot be hypocritical. And what I mean by that, when we're trying to understand you, now we might forever disagree, but I at least want to understand you. There's people who disagree with me, but I at least want them to understand me. I don't care if they disagree with me, but I want them to understand what they're disagreeing with. I don't want them disagree with me for what I really stand for, not for what you think. So when you just said you would disagree that man and woman are not the only two gender options at birth,
and look
could you give me some additional gender assignments that can occur at birth?
A certain skill level, you're basically looking for whether or not that individual is going to be upfront, whether or not that individual is going to be simple and direct, or whether or not if that individual is going to buck, is going to jive, it's going to filibuster. You're looking for whether or not that individual is going to be honest. At the same time, let me help you out one more time. The meaning of queer, one, so there's 6. I'm going to stop at number 6. Number 1 is deviating from the normal or expected. Strange. Number 2 is odd or unconventional. Eccentric. Number 3 is questionable in nature or character. Suspicious. Something queer about the DEA, the day. Number 4 is slang, fake, counterfeit. Number 5 is feeling slightly ill or queasy. Number 6 is often offensive, homosexual. So regardless of what the question is, and please don't get so much hung up on what we are discussing now, queer, take the behavioral pattern lesson and apply it to all terms, to apply it to all phrases, apply it to all news articles, apply it to all catchphrases, apply it to everything. So that you limit. This is why he's asking a specific question. This is why he's asking it a certain way, to limit and to decrease the amount of wiggle room or squirm room, evasion tactics that we use towards each other. Cowards use towards each other.
What is it that the heterosexual black community needs to understand about you in particular and the black LGBT movement in general? Give us some political positions.
The first thing black people need to understand is that the experience of black people is their primary experience, period.
Okay.
They're just like you cannot choose to be heterosexual before you choose to be black, right? If that is a choice you make,
okay,
you are seen as black before anybody knows what you got going on.
I agree.
The blackness is just the experience. So I think it is, even though it may not be intended to be disrespectful, to ask somebody if they're gay first or if they are black first, it is a facetious point at this point.
I don't think it's facetious though, my brother. And the reason excuse me, my sister, the reason I'm saying that, and I want your response, is because a lot of black LGBTQs, they wave that flag and they only come out to protest or stand up when it involves the sexual agenda. You don't see them when it involves regular black issues. I'm not talking about all of y'all, but I don't think you can call it facetious. We cannot assume that black LGBTs feel that they are black first, because I've heard black LGBTs say that they were not black first, I've heard some say they were gay first or queer first. I've had others say that they were both. So not everybody in your community assumes black first.
Out of respect, Prince, I'm gonna keep it to a strict he, him pronoun.
He's asking specific questions and he's not getting an answer. So at a certain point, you need to stop beating that. You need to stop going in that direction. I'm someone else. I've already asked you the question. You've already proven yourself to be dishonest. What I don't want to do is I don't want to linger on a topic too long to reveal, oops, I got you. No, I'm going to ask you the question. You're going to say it. You're going to reply a certain way. I'm going to get either the truth or a lie. Whatever I get from you, I know when to cut bait. I'm good. All right, next topic. And what I'm telling you all, the listening audience, yes, my individual skill, based on my personality, based on my upbringing, based on the things I've witnessed in my life, has brought me to this stage. I have met people that are a little bit better at it than myself. I have heard people that are a little bit better than myself. It doesn't matter what level you're at. All I need you to focus on is learn their talking points, learn their ways of hiding, learn their agenda. Once you are able to learn how they do what they do and why they do what they do, for what specific purposes they do what they do, you can better defend yourself.
Heterosexual black men.
What about them?
I find that a lot of these protests to protect black men from police brutality have been led by black women and black queer folk, and that's just being present at them. I also think that it is it's it's difficult to think that people are choosing their sexuality first. I mean, when people choose to ascend in terms of class, to leave the majority of Black people and exploit the majority of Black population, you're Pan-African, right?
Yes, yes.
Right, and so we understand that, class exploitation is extremely prevalent, especially globally when it comes to Black bodies, right?
True. Racism is worse, though.
Right. So what do you think that the not the new house Negroes, but the continued house Negroes are those who are actually sitting in the house with the white people, class wise?
Okay. If they're sitting in the house with the white, if they're sitting in the house with the white people, the question becomes: are they advocating for us, or are they simply there to collaborate with the oppressor?
Now, I know that was a lot of talking, and I let it run as long as I let it run so you can catch the flow. So you can hear one moment, it's a lot of ambiguity. One moment, it's a lot of confusion. Don't say this, don't say that. I don't prescribe to that, not that. Well, I don't think so. Well, I think. One moment, it's a lot of word hopscotch. Then the next moment, it seems to get very, very clear and precise of the conversation. I'm able to detect that. I don't know if the listening audience was able to detect that. But what you're starting to hear is, I'm going to tell you in case you don't know what you're hearing. And if you think you know what you're hearing, I'm going to tell you it anyway. He threw in a feminist statement. It, she, him, they threw in a feminist statement. This is how it works. So if the majority of the males, heterosexual males, are in the house or in the seat in the house with white people or massa, then that would also imply that a lot of those individuals are sold out heterosexual males, which means that heterosexualism is the problem, not homosexuality. Say what? This is what Black feminists do. This is what white feminists do. If you come at them a certain way and you disagree, they're going to say, well, that's classism, that's sexism, that's misogynoir. They're going to come at you in a way that says, if they can't get you on racism, then they're going to get you on sexism. If they can't get you on sexism, then they're going to get you on classism. If they can't get you on classism, for the most part, they're going to find something to get you on, but you are not supposed to walk away with the W. They are. And you really can't argue with them, but you always have to be able to put it in context. Instead of saying Black heterosexual men are the problem, you need to say white heterosexual men are the problem. Because you, the listening audience, you got to understand, whether they're in your face, whether they're your sons, your daughters, your wives, your husbands, you, the listening audience, you need to be able to understand when they come at you with all of these diversion tactics, all of this bobbing and weaving and all of these words and never speaking clear, then all of a sudden they're right to the point. Then all of a sudden they shadow dance one more time. That is an agent. And they're not here to help matters. They're here to pick your brain, use our talking points, go back to HQ and have a deep, profound discussion and developed the new script. So what do you mean, new script? The old script was Black men ain't shit. The new script is going to be heterosexual Black men ain't shit. And they're using scared Negroes who was promised, if not position, at least protection. So what I'm trying to get you to hear is hear them coming. You can hear somebody coming up them steps. You can hear somebody shut their car door. You can hear somebody coming in your front door. You can hear them coming before they actually around you. You need to learn how to hear these people move.
What is your position on the black LGBT community uniting with and integrating with the white LGBT community. Where are you on that? Are you an LGBTQ integrationist? Are you a nationalist? Do you believe y'all should fight your own fight separate from the whites?
No, I'm pro-black, and I would urge the rest of black people to hop on that bandwagon to protect all black people, regardless of if they are cis heterosexual men or any of the other bodies who are typically experiencing intracommunal violence from cis heterosexual men. But yeah, so no, I think that the only people who are the closest that we can even get to in terms of like the house Negroes or the weakest links or the people who are exploiting us the most are actually straight and are actually men, because they are able to ascend in this patriarchal society in particular ways. Whether you want to look at statistics, whether you want to look at intracommunal violence, whether you want to, whatever you want to look at.
Okay,
right? I don't think.
Are you talking about straight black men? You're not saying straight black men are the culprits, are you?
So I made two different points. I said that one, if we're going to talk about people who are quote unquote in the house Negroes, right, are the people who are able to ascend most and even participate in the exploitation of, right, the quote unquote field niggas, right? And so that has to do with class. That also has to do with the fact that we live under patriarchy, right? So that also has to do with the fact that you have men. But then if you also want to look at violence in our communities, right, perpetuating violence, I am pro-black. I would like to reduce / eliminate the amount of violence experienced within black communities. And so oftentimes, intra-communally, because we know violence is proximity-based, right? Black, cis, which means you born a man and you still identify as a man.
Wait, and clarify again, Z, what was your gender assigned at birth?
Brothers and sisters, you have to hear these people coming. It's about, I got my clock at 49 minutes. Almost a 4-hour in. The original video went way longer than that. Of course I'm editing. Of course I'm taking some things out. But it's 49 minutes in on my video where you can hear where he's shifting the blame to heterosexual men. That's feminism. It's homosexuality. So they want to remove heterosexual black men from any form of the equation, as well as if you challenge them, they're going to say all men, white men included. So even though I'm pro-black, yeah, they understand the system. It's not that they don't understand the system. I keep explaining to you. Your people aren't dumb. You cannot not have a PhD and don't understand what's going on. You cannot not have a master's degree, understand physics, understand molecular structures, and not understand what's going on. You do understand what's going on. And you formulated a way out. You formulated a can't beat them, join them. So, but you can't join them. However, you can eat of their fruit. You just can't join them. So, how do they get access without necessarily saying, hey, I want access? How do they get access without necessarily saying, I want access? And that's usually by sacrificing your warrior class males, sacrificing your heterosexual males. Yes, I'll be homosexual. Yes, I'm willing to be gay. Yes, I'm willing to be flame. Yes, I'm willing to be butch. You have black women running around cutting their breast off so that they can hide and be butch a little bit more authentically. You have black women doing this. You have black women talking about divesting from black people in general. Yes, specifically away from black heterosexual men, but as well as the community. And then they're going over there to white zaddy and they're being deleted. That's not going to stop them from being deleted. There's another book I'm looking to purchase, and it's called Daughters of the Trade. And that book is supposed to highlight how African women were on the continent of Africa selling out other Africans so she can get sexual access, and like in always, save me. Like any trader does, any traitorous thing. Men do it and women do it. You are from a traitorous stock. You are from a cowardice stock. It's a select few that are willing to bang. But the overall full body, the body of African people are cowards. And that's why we're bumping heads. I'm bumping heads with my own kind because for the most part, my own kind doesn't mind being enslaved. This is the thing that they learned while you were enslaved. They've learned you don't mind being mistreated. The caveat to being mistreated and continuing your mistreatment is we, the oppressive class, cannot physically overtly mistreat you. What is physically? What is overtly? What does that mean? I can't be running around here busting you upside your head. That's what you don't like. What you prefer is for me to mistreat you as long as I make you feel like it's okay. But if I bust you upside your head, if I kill you unrelentlessly, if I kill you for no reason, then you really have a problem. But if I can make a few of you starve, if I can sell drugs to a third of your population, if I can sex traffic a quarter of your population, if I can do evil and heinous things to you, you're perfectly fine with that. As long as I don't overtly bust you upside your head.
What would be the appropriate gender pronoun for you?
He, him.
He, him is a one? That's one?
He, him. I mean, it's a pronoun. You asked for the pronoun.
No.
So
But what I'm saying is he, him, one pronoun, because that's two words. So is that a hyphen between them, or are you giving me two options? Are you saying call me he or call me him? Or is he, him a single descriptor? You follow where I'm coming from?
I mean,
are you putting those two together, or those?
No.
Okay. So even though you was assigned female at birth, you identify as he. Am I correct?
Yeah, let's keep it simple. That yes.
Yeah, okay. I got you now.
Yeah.
I got you now.
Yeah.
When I first heard it myself, I was like, what the fuck? And I'm explaining to you guys what their problems are, what their grievances are, how they're coming at you, what terminologies they're using to mask their agenda. I'm coming at you in every shape, form, or fashion to break down or decode. I understand the code. I only understand the code because of the pattern. I see the pattern. It's like a video game. I play it and 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 I lose 1,000 times and I play it and I play it and I play it and I play it until I say, oh, that's how it's done. Be patient, stay away, strike, move, roll around until he gets back into that sweet spot. Once the boss is back into the sweet spot, strike 3 more times, strike, roll around, dodge. Once he get back into that sweet spot, I can only strike him 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Roll around. Pattern. I can decode it because of the pattern. I cannot decode it because I read 8,000 books. I can only decode it because of the pattern. Again, I buy these books because there's information in the books, but the information for the most part really just helps me focus on the pattern. But I don't really need any more books. I pretty much just get the books. Real talk, fam. I pretty much get the books. So when someone says something, I can say, well, did you check this out? And I can debunk what they're saying based on the book. Why? Because I know they haven't read the book. Why? Because they're too busy reading the normal books. They're too busy reading. I don't want to give off titles because I don't want to give up too much of the code. But if you're reading the same books, See Cat Run, if you're reading too many of the same books of Dr. Seuss's books, in a nutshell, all of you are going to be running around with the ideology or concept of Dr. Seuss. What I'm telling you is I'm reading the other books. And I know you haven't read the other books. Why? Because your talking points are of Dr. Seuss, not of the other books. Every now and then, I will run across somebody who has read Dr. Seuss and the other books. How can I differentiate whether or not they read Dr. Seuss and the other books? Just an example, not an absolute, because you come out sounding like fucking Thomas Sowell. You read Dr. Seuss and you read the other books. At the end of the day, you lean more towards Dr. Seuss, Thomas Sowell, Jesse Lee Peterson. When I run across those individuals, I go, I know you understand, but you chose a lane. I stay away from you because I don't want to give you access to my code. I don't want to give you access to my brain. I don't want to give you no way in. What I'm trying to show you here in this video, yes, it is lengthy, yes, it is long, because the jewels were spread out. What I'm trying to give you in this video is, I told you they're going to come after you hetero first. If they can't get you hetero, they're going to come at you homo. If they can't get you homo, they're going to come at you economically. If they can't get you economically, they're going to come at you race. The agenda is to find every intersectionality loophole that they can get to say, we must do away with heterosexual black men. We must not allow heterosexual black men to have any kind of power. That's political power, that's economic power, that's religious power, that's spiritual power, that's not even big dick energy power. They're trying to make sure that you don't have any power. And you all are not doing your jobs to fight back. Again, I've been showing you our victories. We've been showing you on the internet. We've been showing you on the newsreels. We've been showing you the Warrior class's victories. In this 1 year, none of you have been able to show anybody who does a prayer warrior, anybody who does a prayer visual, and comes up and say, hey, we prayed about this last night. Did you see it on camera? We recorded the prayer. Then this is what we got. Nobody has said we performed a seance last night. Ooh. And then all of a sudden you got a victory based on your seance. Nobody has sat down and said, yo, we did Ouija last night, and this is what we asked for. And then somebody comes around and said, I won the lottery last night. How? Because I was on the Ouija board. None of you all's other ways of fighting this elephant or enemy has proven an effective way of fighting this enemy. The primary and only way that has proven itself to be effective of fighting this enemy is actually getting out there and tearing this mother down. That's the way that's most effective. Most of you aren't going to do that, so it's less likely that's going to happen. But it has been proven, even the FBI released the article 2021 stating that riots and protests actually do have a positive effect on how police treat civilian citizens. I've read that article, and if I haven't read it, then I'm going to read it. But I got evidence. I got tangible evidence that says fists fighting, standing up, protesting, rioting works. So we have evidence and we have the proof. It isn't us, it's you all. You're not going to do the work. And as soon as you all just say it out loud, nah, we don't want to fight. No, we don't want to fight. We pretty much just want to wait until we die and hope that we get a place in heaven because we turned the other cheek. But just say it already.
Let me go to the next
Yo, what's up? Yeah.
piece of love, brother. Are you homosexual, bisexual?
I don't want to disclose. I don't think that it's relevant. I think the people who know in the audience, they know.
But I need to know, brother, because you're having a conversation with me.
Well,
I mean,
is it Thursday? I'm straight today. It's Thursday.
what do you mean you straight today is Thursday, brother? Be honest with me, brother. Are you straight? Are you gay? What?
I really want to solve a problem.
Okay, and I'm gonna let you solve that problem, Brandon. But Brandon, tell me how you identify, brother. What's wrong with telling me?
I'm poor.
You're poor. I'm asking about your sexual orientation, brother. Come on now.
I've been here for a while. I don't mind sharing that with you.
Just tell me, brother, and then you can go right into your point. I just want to know your frame of reference, brother. That's
How about allow me the courtesy of going into my point and
okay. Go ahead. I'm with you. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Brother.
Right. So, what I think you're looking at, if the question is to be legitimized, is what you're really examining is a particular thing that plagues all black movement, which is vibrational disharmony. You've got people who appear to be in community, people who seem to share a perspective or a desire for justice, but when you sort of investigate and interrogate their value system or their priorities, you realize that there's a lot of distance between why some people are showing up and why other people are showing up, and that we're not all actually actively trying to achieve these big radical systemic changes.
Okay.
But I think the core issue with your question is suggests that the only predators or the only traders on the plantation landscape were house Negroes, when in fact there were people who were in the fields who also executed traitorism, that also executed being predators.
That is correct. That is correct. That is correct.
And so I think that politically, I think that in terms of value added, in terms of the weight that's been carried by one particular subgroup of black people or the other, I do think that it's important to humble people who call themselves straight.
What do you mean by humbling people who call themselves straight? What do you mean by that?
I make the point that very much so you are a myth as it relates to the volume and the weight of what you contributed to any of the radical movements around the black community. I mean, you've been present, but mostly for cerebral labor. But the places in which people experience harm, violence, negligence, I should say neglect, being in community but out of community at the same time, but also adding really invaluable things to our master narrative of progress as black people on the globe. Well, those people had some lean toward what the good brother described earlier, Z described earlier as queerism, and you used terms like homosexuality and some other things. Which
is there something wrong with using the word homosexuality?
Well, no, I don't think that, but I do think if you want to assert your straightness, again, if you want to assert that, I do think you have to understand that even tone matters in trying to investigate that, and that in many cases, like I heard you say something earlier with regard to I can't judge you, or I'm not against it. Well, you're in no position of authority to judge or be against it, because you don't exist in the hierarchy based off your expression of sexuality in proximity to someone else's expression.
But we're talking about us exclusively within the black community, my brother.
That individual said, because you're no one to judge, because you're not in the hierarchy architecture to determine whether or not. What does all that mean? Because he's a black man in this system of racism, white supremacy, he really has no authority to judge, to question, to talk, or to demand or suggest He has no authority to say anything, to like or dislike, simply because in the system of WSR, he doesn't matter. He's not as strong as those that are controlling it. Let that ponder. Sit with that. Here comes the switch.
So we're not dealing with the larger hierarchy of the white power structure. We're talking about us living in the same community as black people. What exactly does LGBTQ stand for? So heterosexuals can better understand your movement. Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it, but at least we can understand you.
You just said it again. Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it, which
Because we may not. Some people might. Some people may not. There's people who agree with me, and there's people who don't. That's just a part of life, Brother Brent.
But you would not make that same statement as to say you may not agree with me being straight. You wouldn't say that same thing. And so in making that statement, which seems very passive and unaggressive, you are making.
I was watching a video with Toni Morrison, and Toni Morrison is a black feminist author. She passed away since, and she was having an interview with a white woman. And the white woman, I'm paraphrasing, the white woman asked her a question about whether or not if she would make books that didn't so much center around WSR in a patriarchal system. When the interviewer asked Toni Morrison that question, Toni Morrison replied, "But if I was white, you wouldn't even ask me that question." Well, what did he do? I don't understand what he did. In the system of WSR, what we, the warrior class, have a tendency of saying is you are not operating under your own consciousness. Most of the things that you're doing as a mechanism to survive. So when he says some of us are not going to agree, some people don't even agree with me, the other individual replied and said, well, if I would have said I was straight, I'm paraphrasing because I don't want to use the exact words, quote, verbatim, because sometimes that's how you get lost. I want to come back down to layman's terms. You would have never said that if you would have agreed with what I was saying. And that's the premise. We typically don't disagree with those that agree with us. We normally typically only disagree with those that disagree with us. What am I trying to decode? This whole video is about them using our talking points, and I'm explaining you why we will never come together. We will never come together at least until we establish the code and we enforce the code. Give a fuck about how you feel. We're only having these issues with black men, white women, black women hating white men, black women hating black men, homosexuals, the rich, the poor. We're really only having this problem because our sworn enemy has decided to cater to a certain group of us. And that certain group of us consider themselves to be more important. And because they consider themselves to be more important, or they consider their desire to be more important, then they're willing to do whatever it takes in order to accomplish that desire. Whereas when you have the warrior class over here, we believe doing things for the majority. So if we come up with a plan, an ideal, or strategy, we're trying to look out for the best interest of all of our people. We already know we're not going to get them all, but we're trying to look out for the best interest of all of our people. We're trying to save as many lives as possible. That is our problem. Whereas the other people, which is typically your coward class, your niche class, your nuance class, they typically only want to do what is in their best interest. And even though they're smaller in numerical representation, they cause the greatest threat. The whore class causes the greatest threat because she is giving them access. The coward class causes the greatest threat because they are giving them access. So when it's my type, we are less likely to talk to them and spill the beans. How you do that? I'm not going to sit here and teach you how to break dance. I may dance. I may do what you are already able to do. I'm not going to teach you everything else. I'm not going to teach you the hidden jewels. I'm not going to do that. Because I've learned you have the capability of coming in with the rest of your crew, John Smith, and then wiping out my entire village. Well, not all of us. I don't know which one of you is capable of it. But I know I've seen enough of you do it. So since you all aren't able to get your bad apples in place, I can't fuck with any of you because it's too much of a liability. It's too much of a risk. Whereas the coward class, the whore class, they're willing to give you access because they know you're going to give them access. I'm going to deviate. I'm going to deviate a little bit. I keep explaining why black men are having an issue with black women. Black men are typically having an issue with black women because black men will not allow black women to do what black women want to do. Black women, in a nutshell, are hypergamous. All females are hypergamous. All females want the ability to use their bodies to sneer in, to catch, to upgrade to the highest bidding offer. That's what they want. They don't want to cut down trees. They don't want to blow a hole in mountains and make tunnels. They don't want to go out there and fish. They want their bodies to give them, they want to be able to sell their body to the highest bidder, which is a natural thing for her, being less physically strong. Why black men don't allow it so much is because, like other men people groups see that women of their people group has the capability of being the highest threat. So other men's people groups, they get their women in check. Black men have never gotten their women in check. So when black women want to sell her body to the highest bidder, and we're coming with all of those biblical restrictions, she goes, I'll accept it because I don't want the smoke. But like a pimp, hey man, your bitch chose me. Whoever comes along and can possibly give her a better deal, it doesn't have to be a perfect deal. It's a better deal. So if that outsider says, hey bitch, you need to lose that loser, you need to leave that zero and get with a hero, she's going to turn around and go with the other guy because the other guy doesn't necessarily promise her green grass. What the other guy, for the most part, promises her ability to do what she wants to do. When you're with me and you're with our tribe, we come with a bunch of restrictions. Our restrictions are, these are the things you got to do in order to keep us safe. When that other guy comes along, he's not going to put those restrictions on her. He doesn't value her like that. He doesn't care about her like that. He uses her to get access to our coffers, access to our books, access to our culture, access to our land, access to our resources. So he caters to her. When he caters to her, She comes with you and me, and I'll tell him, dear. Whatever you want to know, I'll let you know. Because in his world, she gets to run around and be free. But then when she comes back here, she got to put on the clothes. She got to take off the makeup. She got to take away her hypergamy, her sexual market value. When you take away her hypergamy or interfere with her hypergamy or her sexual market value, that's her power. You're interfering with her power. And the coward class is the same way. They're never going to come up under us. It's not going to happen by free will. They're not going to wake up one day and say, you know what, man, they were right, we were wrong. I don't have another 8,000 years for you coward ass black men to step up and do it. Do the right thing. Some of us are going to have to put some of us to sleep. There is no getting around that. Some of us are going to have to make those night raids and like, yo, we saw you, we heard you, we ain't going for that. Some of us are going to have to do that. And we're going to have to let it be the way it is, as long as it's moving in the direction to save as many people as possible. Save as many people as possible. But if you're talking about doing this thing just so a select few, the coward class, can live, no, the coward class can't stay amongst us. Again, all of it is escapism. And any form of escapism is treacherous to the nation, treacherous to the tribe. You cannot choose homosexuality over the liberation and freedom of black people. You cannot choose whoredom over sodomy over. You cannot choose these things over the liberation of all black people. And if that itch means that much to you, you're going to have to understand the detriment of it to the rest of us. The enemy is using your little sweet tooth as a way to impede, interfere, enslave, conquer, diminish, kill, annihilate, genocide us. The enemy is using all of you's individual weaknesses to conquer, to enslave, to annihilate all of us. Not just the warrior class. Yes, we will be eradicated faster, quicker. But you know, if the warrior class is gone, who's going to protect you? Your sons can't fight, your daughters can't fight, your mothers can't fight, and your old ass baby boomers can't fight. Who's going to protect you? If nobody is there to protect you, then it is like it was when you were a child. There is nothing you can do to stop it. You all's individual preferences is costing the nation billions. And I'm at a point where I'm tired of talking this talk. It isn't so much the enemy as much as it is us. It's us.
You're making a very problematic assertion about the authority that straightness has over anything else, as if everything else is alternative to straightness, which in fact I'd argue it's not.
Okay, do this for me, Brother Brent. I got you. Can you?
The word of the day is syllogism.
What is a syllogism? A syllogism is this. A syllogism consists of three propositions: major premise, minor premise, and conclusion. So in this example, all men are mortal. This is a universal proposition. The minor premise is Socrates is a man. This is a particular proposition. And the conclusion is what follows from the premises. Socrates is mortal. So all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. What's beautiful about a syllogism is that if the first premise, if the major and minor premises are true, then the conclusion will always follow, provided that the form of the argument is valid. So that's what's beautiful about logic. If certain propositions are true, there are other ones that are logic connected that must also be true. And this could be put in mathematical form. All A is B, all C is A, all C is B. A, B, C can indicate anything. Men, mortals, animals, whatever. So in our previous example, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. When you're debating someone, you have two options if you wish to refute their argument. The first option is to prove that one of the premises are false. If you could show that one of these are contrary to reality, then your opponent's argument falls. The second option is to show that the conclusion does not logically follow from the premises. There are arguments in which the premises are true, but the conclusion does not logically follow. And when that happens, you could use a fancy Latin phrase, non sequitur. Non sequitur. And this means it does not follow. So if you want to sound smarter than you actually are, use the phrase non sequitur. Latin is good for being pretentious. Very nice. So a review of how to refute someone's argument. You could either prove that one of the premises are false, or you could prove that the conclusion does not logically follow from the premises. And if you've done that, you've won the argument.
And these people come up here, they talk amongst us, and they use our talking points, and they skew it, and they turn it, and the next thing you know, you're just like, how did we let that happen? Because the coward class, your whorish class, your divestors, male and female, your integrationalists, your assimilationists, all of them are willing to sell out the entire tribe so that they can get a little bit of feel good.
Okay.
You do not have sex or choose partners in the way that you would like to truly under white supremacy.
Wait, say that again. You do not choose sex. Give me.
You do not have sex or choose partners in the way that you would like to.
We do not have sex or choose partners in the way we would like to under white supremacy. What do you mean by that?
That in some very unfortunate ways, wherever you see yourself on what they call a spectrum, that we are all inhibited and restricted in how we express ourselves through procreation, through partnership, through community, through the very simple function of the orgasm, as it relates to the way that we are all under the surveillance of white supremacy that basically says that has always said and continues to say very subtly that black sex should be illegal, that it is amoral, that our sexuality is something other, in the same way that you, as a straight person, would like to other this thing, homosexual, queer. White supremacy certainly others black sexuality, all black sexuality. Understand that.
I told you all, those sweet tails, those tambourine players, they are the most articulate, most deceitful, most deceptive, most intelligent ones of us all. They sit up there with the agenda and the deliberate intent to try to undermine us. The word that man said, the word of the day, is syllogism. And I went and I played that little video for you guys so you guys can get a better understanding of syllogism. And all that the guy is really saying is because you are a black man, because you are black, you do not have the authority or power to say who is and who isn't, whether you like it or don't like it. White people have that power. You don't. So whether or not you like it or do like it, there's nothing you can do about it. But you, audience, please understand, these people groups, they're never going to do what's in the best interest of all black people. And they are tired and angry at heterosexual people. They're not angry at the women because the women have no power. They're angry at the men because, in a nutshell, if the men are out here fussing and fighting and they look like a man, then they get pulled in because they look like a man. And they're not able to differentiate which one is a man and which one is a broken wrist. And in their mindset, they believe if they can do away with the heterosexual normality, they get the option to practice escapism. And under that umbrella of escapism, they really believe they're going to be safe. So they're going to push black feminism. They're going to push the LGBT community. And they're going to push sexism, and they're going to push classism, and they're going to push misogyny, and they're going to push misandry. They're going to push any agenda that allows them to think that they're going to be safe, all at the expense of heterosexual black men. Now, the reason why he shut Dr. Umar Johnson down, because in a nutshell, that is the premise that we use when we're saying under the system of WS-R, you are not operating under your own mindset because they've manipulated the way that we as a people think and behave. And because they've manipulated the way that we think and behave, we're not truly in a system of freedom. So since we're not truly in a system of freedom, then you're not acting or thinking in accordance with yourself, your true self. When we say it, we're saying when you make a decision that is not in your best interest, 9 times out of 10, the root of that decision being made is because of the fear of the black backlash of racism, white supremacy. That's what we've been beating in their head, and that's how we've been winning. Because you can't go to 7-Eleven whenever you feel like it. Why? You're afraid of what's going to happen. You can't go to the white water fountain because you're afraid of what's going to happen. You can't just walk outside at all hours of the night in the wrong neighborhood because you are afraid of what's going to happen. Because they set up these parameters in outposts to make sure you're nowhere around. Now, when they say it, they're really under their mindset of thinking because we are under a system of racism, white supremacy, that we don't have the ability to differentiate whether or not we are homo or hetero. And since we are not 1, white, 2, we are not heterosexual white, and 3, we are black, and 4, we are heterosexual black, and 5, we are the oppressed. We don't have the capability or autonomy to understand who we are as an individual without racism, white supremacy. So when I hear it, I get livid because you're using our talking points against us. I also get livid, not solely on the fact that you use it, freedom of speech, you're granted that. I really get aggravated or angered when the individual that's on the other side of that conversation is not able to defend himself or herself. So what does that mean? Some of us are really good at this and some of us really, really aren't. Some of us are just well learned. Some of us are well studied, and most of us are on a script. We repeat the same things over and over and over. And I'm telling you in this here video because when I heard it, I already had a rebuttal. And I was hoping that the individual that was on the other side of the conversation had a rebuttal. He went silent. He went quiet. And he said, okay, I understand your point. His point is not right. No matter how many fancy words, no matter how many ancient words that they pick up, you got to understand what I'm saying. We were having intercourse with the opposite sex before the system of racism, white supremacy. The system of racism, white supremacy was not in effect before we started having intercourse. The system of racism, white supremacy came in effect afterwards. Don't know the exception, don't know the conception, don't know the calendar date. But it's not as old as we are as a people. It's younger than we are as a people. So, whether or not if we're operating under certain restrictions and certain conditions, we had the ability to operate freely before this system got into play. It's after this system got into play. So we, of course, are not necessarily saying we can't differentiate if we want girl or man before the system of racism, white supremacy, or after the system of racism, white supremacy. But we can definitely say who we are now is what we want. And how you can debunk that. If you're into men and you're into men only, how do you procreate? If you're into women and you're into women only, how do you procreate? Audience, defend yourselves at all costs. Defend your mind, defend your spirit, defend your wallets, defend your family at all costs. This is what they do. You got Pocahontases, you got Judas, you got traitors amongst us, and they're never going to be on our side. Black people as a body are never going to be on the best and are never going to be on the side of black people. We come with too many restrictions. Well, other people are able to do it, but nobody wants what they got. Don't nobody want nothing in China. Don't nobody want nothing in Ukraine. Don't nobody want nothing in South Korea, North Korea. Don't nobody want what they got. Everybody want what the blacks got. Whether it's the blacks on the continent of Africa or the blacks here in North America. Now you got Caribbean blacks and you got continental blacks trying to say they came up with hip hop. They're the ones that created hip hop. Don't nobody want what nobody got. Everybody want what the foundational black people have. Everybody. 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 And they're here to take it. And I don't think the way other people want me to think. I know you got to defend your station. You got to man your post. And if you guys don't learn how they're talking, if you guys don't understand how they're moving in the shadows, if you guys don't understand why other black people are shooting down reparations. Yes, it is WSR, but rest assured, please believe you as the individual, they as the individual are also complicit and compliant because they don't want us to have reparations. Well, why is it that you think they don't want us to have reparations? Reparations in a nutshell is power. So if we get power, what do you think we're going to do with said power? Do you think we're really going to sit there and play hopscotch with that kind of power? Do you really think we're going to sit there wax on, wax off with that kind of power? Or are you under the mindset, we're going to fight back? Or are you under the mindset, all these people groups that have cozied up and got little individual contracts and got means to an end and got a simple way to live based on the death of heterosexual black men? You don't think we'll put a stop to that? You guys got to wake up. I can point the fingers at racism. I can point the finger at WSR until the cows come home. But the simple fact is, if we don't drain our swamp, if we don't clean our ranks, if we don't get our own people together, we're never coming out of this. Too many of our people have already brought into the system. And they are under the mindset things would be a lot easier if the warrior class was out of the picture. And they're waging war. Our own kind is not simply solely only raging war against us just because they're afraid of white people. No. They're getting something out of the deal. What is it that they're getting out of the deal? Whatever they're getting out of the deal. The point is we're not going to give it to them, or we're less likely to give it to them, or we're going to give them less of it. Yeah, you can do it. You just can't do it so much. Whereas the enemy is not giving them any restriction. Do it. One thing, you got to tell on your heterosexual dad. One thing, you got to tell on your strong mom. Yeah, that woman right there that defended your dad. Yeah, you got to tell on her. They go, okay. Warrior class, Zoo, rise up. Warrior class, Zoo, show up. Warrior class, Zoo, speak up. Warrior class, Zoo, smoke them out. Peace and black love.
I don't want peace. I want problems always.
In this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Fair Use Act disclaimer. This site is for educational purposes only. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research.